HPIE 3.0. So we'll start here with our first solo presentation, and for that I would like to call our first keynote speaker, Dr. Nambiar, co-founder and chairperson of DHIA, CEO of Bagchi-Parthasarathy Hospital, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Please give her a huge round of applause. Come on everyone, make some noise and louder applause for our keynote speaker over here.
Hi, good morning everyone. While I was asked to speak here, I was wondering what should I speak on healthcare infrastructure and planning. And I thought I'll touch on this topic, which most people may not even identify with as either infrastructure or something that has to be planned well in advance. And that is digital as infrastructure. In today's day and age, we cannot afford to think of digital merely as a service, which is what we have grown up with. It's extremely important that just as we have a brick and mortar structure of the hospital, it is no longer possible to do anything in healthcare delivery without use of digital technology. And therefore, to start thinking of digital as infrastructure and to plan ahead while we are planning hospitals, it almost becomes mandatory. It is because, look at the way our patients have evolved. So the demand today is of delivery through digital technology. So if we do not rise to the expectations of the people who demand healthcare from us and do not deliver it the way they want, we will be left behind. And I think it's necessary that, because what I see happening in the digital tech space is that the demand is far ahead of what we are capable of supplying. And I think we need to really get ready for that. The young generation doctors and nurses have no hesitation using digital technology. So as far as the people who deliver healthcare, they just need good technology that can enable that delivery. In addition, what we have is the Ayushman Bharat Digital Health Mission of the Government of India, where there is an ambition to have every citizen empowered with having their own personal health record. Now, if that has to happen, we need to all rise up to the challenge to meet that as well. If you were to just look at, so if you were to just look at the number of digital technologies that have emerged in the last 2 decades, and this is, if you were to go back 40 years, you realize that in the last 2 decades, there is an explosion of technologies in digital health. And as we speak, in the next decade, probably you'll have twice the number of technologies that will be available for us to use. So there is an explosion happening in the emergence of newer technologies. And it really behoves on all of us to stay abreast of these technologies, to really be knowledgeable about what is happening, and to be ready to change and use for whatever service delivery we need to provide. Now, as I started the conversation with, is that we need to really change our mindset. Now, this is the biggest task. Who needs to change the mindset? The people who are making the hospitals, the people who are the leaders in healthcare industry, and the leaders who are making the hospital infrastructure. In addition, people who are making the devices and equipments. Because this is the entire infrastructure that we work with. And as we go along, I will tell you how we need to start thinking digital in everything, including our buildings as well. Because we realize that now, for everything, we need to collate data, and one has realized that healthcare is nothing but management of data. Now, and it always was that. It's just that we need to get better at managing that data to provide better healthcare service. The resistance that we will always find is with the guys who think conventional and who think we have been working like this for the last so many years. What is new? So resistance of starting anything digital, we are used to that. There is another level of resistance, which is for data sharing. Of hospitals that I find who have digital systems, that they have adopted digital technology in their solutions, they're very resistant to sharing their data. Globally, we figured during COVID that we handled COVID as a pandemic only because we opened our minds to sharing data. We shared data globally to have a vaccine developed in 1.5 years' time. It couldn't have happened otherwise if we had not shared data from across the globe. And I think this should really open our minds to the fact that sharing doesn't make us smaller. Sharing data doesn't make us weaker. It doesn't compromise anything. In fact, it only enables us, empowers us, and we all get better. So therefore, data sharing is something which is, as hospitals, we are still resistant to sharing our data, and I think we need to just get better at it and find better ways of sharing data. I'll come to that a little later. So what I am talking about is making hospitals smart. And smart hospitals mean using technology appropriately to providing services for patients, to improve patient experiences, improve patient outcomes, improve the experiences that the clinicians and the nurses and the technologists have in the hospital of actually providing the healthcare, and also improve the health data of the entire population by using analytics and using it for population health management. So therefore, what I mean is that within the hospital, you need data management for day-to-day operations. So every hospital must be empowered with some systems and solutions that can help us collect and manage data appropriately for our day-to-day running of the hospital. Then about the non-clinical and support services, about building managements, and also, as I mentioned, about data analytics. So if we look at it in detail, what are the applications, software applications that we need in our day-to-day operations? Now, we've all heard of EMRs and EHRs. So there are multiple components of the EMRs that we need to see that we take what we need. Now, depending on our size of the hospital and the desired function of the hospital, we need to take need-based solution. I find a lot of hospitals making a mistake by saying that if X hospital has it, let me just take that solution. That's a wrong approach. What we need to do is, my 50-bed hospital is different from somebody else's 500-bed hospital, somebody else's 1,000-bed hospital. The functions that you require in a single specialty hospital is different from a multi-specialty hospital. If you need for a clinic versus whether you need for an entire enterprise, large enterprise of multiple hospitals strung together. So these needs are different. So just because something is working for hospital X does not mean the same solution needs to be chosen for hospital Y. So each of the team members need to work together to first identify what is their need. And having said that, an organization's needs change. Organizations are growing animals. They are very dynamic beings. And organization today, which has a focus on X specialty, after 5 years, it may change and want to either curtail the number of services it provides or expand. May add multiple specialties, may add multiple organizations, may go across India to other cities, may go globally. So looking at that, your needs keep changing. So whatever solution we need to take today needs to be dynamic enough, need to be agile enough to adapt to our growing needs as well. So this is another thing to be kept in mind. We also need to make sure that all the non-clinical support services are also using digital solutions, because the provision of clinical services cannot be in isolation. It is related to your inventory, it is related to the assets we own, it is related to the drugs and consumables in our stores, it's related to your finance services, to the ERP solutions. Now looking at ERP solutions, not everybody needs to have SAP. Somebody could have a homegrown ERP solution, somebody who's a large enterprise should have a SAP or something like similar. So Again, the human resource information systems. There are hospitals that have a very basic system which is just attendance and payroll management, whereas there are others which have a full recruitment to retirement through information system. The more digital technologies you use, the easier it gets to manage larger manpower, the more accurate it becomes, it's easier to run, and it also becomes more efficient. Then the building management systems. I'm sure you've heard of now, there are digital blankets for the entire organization's efficiency management. So you not only do the management of your, just your building services, which is your fire and AC and MEP services, but also monitor the process flows, increase efficiency there. So, and also, have a security of all their softwares together strung into the digital blanket. So, I mentioned a little about data sharing. Now, data sharing, it could be standalone within the departments of the hospital. Now, as we go forward, it is going to be more and more necessary for us to share data with the other organizations. We have to share data from inside out, like with the governments, with the other, let's say, organizations which are working on AI to develop more algorithms for disease management. So how do you share data is something that we need to see. How do we share data in de-identified format? How is it stored? Who has the responsibility? So this is a larger dialogue that we need to have when we are starting our systems. And when we are planning something, so as part of planning the digital infrastructure, these are conversations that are necessary, and these are conversations that we need to conclude. Similarly, data coming in. Now, let's say at the Indian Institute of Science, we have a very large AI lab, and we definitely will have a large digital health AI lab. And in that, we expect, we already actually do part of it, but we expect to have larger number of data from various organizations on various diseases where we are being tasked with developing protocols for Indian population. So obviously we need to think of, so there are multiple organizations who have a consortium like this across India, which take data from other smaller hospitals or bigger hospitals or disease-based data for developing algorithms for disease management for Indian ethnic population, and doing protocols which are suitable to our population. Of course, we have concerns on data security, we have concerns of confidentiality, fraud, data sanitization. I mean, when we take data from other institutions, this is the biggest problem that we have, the data sanitization, and the large amount of data that is redundant and waste and unusable is phenomenal. And therefore, if we get X amount of data, you find about 15 to 20% mineable and usable data, which is actually, it's a waste of resources. But if we plan properly when we are setting up organizations, these things can be reduced. So it's important for us to make sure that we invest in right technologies. And right technologies means need-based, not only the need of the organization, but also what is the need in terms of serving the purposes of ABDM, in terms of serving the purposes of data sharing for better protocol developments. So let's say if I run an oncology institute or I run a women's health institute, and there are algorithms being developed for breast cancer management for Indian women, then definitely I have to share data with them. So how do I do that? So this is something that we should keep in mind when we are choosing the technologies. And when we choose the technology, we always have to remember that whatever technology we use, they all need to speak to each other. Nothing should be in isolation. So interoperability of the software that we choose is extremely important. Now, the equipments that we buy, now if I'm buying equipments for my lab, if I'm buying equipments for radiology, all of them need to have the possibility of data being shared with my EMR, directly being populated into the EMR, rather than going through multiple loops and then coming here. So this is how it will it will make job easier for somebody running a hospital. So what we are looking, or what any leadership that is planning for a hospital should look at, is that every technology that they buy is capable of data transfer seamlessly, bilaterally where required, or unilaterally into the EMR where required. It is absolutely mandatory. So every small device that we look at, every big equipment that we look at, they all need to universally be able to communicate and transfer data across softwares, and all of them we should be able to populate on the EMRs. Demonstration of business agility, as I said, that every organization is a dynamic organization. Today I have X purpose, tomorrow my purpose will change, tomorrow I need to exist will change, tomorrow the way I exist or the way I function will change. Some of them will be my internal needs to grow, some of them will be external needs. You know, how the market is changing. So the change may be just because the organization is responding to the market needs. And when that happens, whatever technology you have chosen today, it should not be, we should be able to add to it in a modular format. What is the problem that today large hospitals that went digital about 15 years ago have? That they are actually riddled with legacy systems and they don't know how to enhance or augment their capacity. They are having to junk some of those solutions for which they have paid crores. And the resistance for them to change is actually preventing them to invest in newer technologies, resulting in them going back in time because they are not able to compete with the newer, more agile technologies, newer, smaller hospitals that are much, much more capable of responding to the market dynamics. Of course, focusing on operational excellence and enablement of innovation. So we see we have changed. Now healthcare industry is changing from disease focus to wellness focus. We are becoming more patient-centric. We are moving towards outcome-based delivery and focus on care continuum. When the personal health record becomes a reality, every individual have a single patient record in their own hands on their telephones, against their ABA ID. So that's the system we are moving towards. And all this use of AI and ML will enable us to give more personalized and proactive healthcare. So it's time to take the digital leap for everybody. And it has to start at the time of planning, when we are on the drawing board, when we are planning the layout, architectural layout, plan the digital layout of the hospital as well. And the two key words when we are planning is agility and interoperability. Everything else will fall in place. So let's move to the digital first world and make sure that we don't stop or lag behind in planning the appropriate digital infrastructure for the hospital. Don't look at digital as just a service department, which is where you're calling the IT technician to fix your computer. It's no longer that. It is as much as your brick and mortar pillars and your floors. IT has the same space today. So it's 50% of your hospital infrastructure and which we need to plan. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Are there any questions?
No, please be with us. So thank you so much for the enlightening talk packed with the valuable insight. So let's have a huge round of applause for Dr. Uma ma'am. Okay, do we have a question here? You need mic?
Yeah, happy to answer. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
It's working.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh, no, take this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Uma. It was a pleasure to hear you, and I think I just made it in time to come and sit and hear the words that you spoke. And I think my clarity for what is the absorption of the digitalization in the healthcare sector is now complete, probably after going through your slides. I would like you to, I noticed one statement you made was the pre and the post-operative, post-discharge, let's say, in relation to the healthcare continuum, actually. Can you elaborate more on this? How does it happen? Thank you.
So, for every hospital, see, right now, a lot of people think that their responsibility for acute care ends once the patient is discharged, but that is not so. And when ABDM actually eventually makes a PHR, which is the patient's personal health record, every event from birth to near death is going to be recorded on that, which includes the acute care event. Now, hospitals do a very small part of the patient's entire life cycle and the healthcare. How many of us have acute care events for which we need hospitalization for a few days in our entire lifespan? So it's necessary that there is a continuity maintained. Let's say, so what the hospitals do, of course, immediate post-discharge, 7 days, 10 days, they take care. If you have a robust EMR, and you also have a digital health record which is linked to the ABHA ID of the patient can access this record anywhere. Now, let's say patient was discharged under his care, and patient comes to me in another district for a follow-up care. On the patient's portal, against the ABHA ID, I can visualize the documents that has been generated, which are lying in the server of his hospital. It doesn't have to be anywhere else. It has to be where the data was generated and stored. But I can access it because patient grants me the access of accessing on their phone, and I know what care was given, what is the follow-up medication. I can do that, and once I write the prescription in the digital format that I do, it goes again to the ABHA ID, and he as a doctor has a view that these medications have been changed or patient has developed a complication. There can even be an alert, supposing they've, if he has an alert saying this patient develops fever after, say 10 days after surgery, and I have recorded a fever which is significant, his team can call the patient and say, you need to see us. This would be the level of care continuum that you expect. Patient is a diabetic. Patient is traveling across the globe. You can travel anywhere in the world, but if this data is available, then the doctor, whoever is seeing you at any point of time, does not have to see those huge, big, bundle of records which you can't carry, which get lost, which get damaged. It's all on your phone. So it's against one ID, and it's stored in multiple places. Wherever you access healthcare, the data is stored there. You just retrieve it. So that's how robust the system is going to be. This is how the Indian citizens are going to access healthcare a couple of years from now. And we as healthcare providers are the data collectors. So it is our responsibility to make sure that the point of care, at a point of transaction, at the point of service delivery, accurate data is collected. Because that is what is going to be sitting in that patient's record for his life. So one wrong data by anyone who doesn't understand the system can actually have a huge impact and an adverse impact on the patient's outcome overall. So I think, therefore, when we make our devices, when we put these devices out in the market, the system of data collection and the system of data transfer to an EMR has to be accurate. That's important. And that's why I thought that in the audience that we have today, it is important for us to realize that we are all on the same side. We are not vendor-client anymore. We are on the same side when it comes to servicing digital technology, using digital technology and servicing the patients is concerned. Yeah, sure.
So, ma'am, what we actually end up seeing is a lot of data being deciphered and a lot of data being utilized. But the first point is, and compromised also. I mean, one of your slides talked about data security too. And every sector, today within the industry, the thousands of sectors that we have, every sector is developing its own prowess in terms of managing that data. Within the healthcare setup itself, whether it's hospital setups, medtech or health tech, wherever we talk about, skilled manpower to actually use that data is the first point that we need to have. And that's completely, right now, if you look at it, even at university levels, institution level, academic level, we are just talking about it, but not preaching. At the end of the day, the guys who are actually using that data or actually, pounding that data on their systems are only IT nerds. They don't understand healthcare. So I think at some point of time, maybe through Ayushman, maybe, through setups that we can have in Niti Aayog and others, manpower recruitment towards these sensitive areas needs to be, otherwise we'll keep on getting compromised in that sense.
To answer your question, the efforts are happening today from both ends of the spectrum. One is recording digital, data and like making everybody into a typist is not a good solution, right? I mean, doctors, it's not that they cannot do it fast enough, but it has been wasting a lot of their time and it's learning an entirely new skill, right? So what is happening is the software providers have understood that they have to make technology for healthcare. They cannot tell healthcare providers कि मैंने ये solution बनाया है, अब आप ऐसे चलाओ healthcare. That doesn't happen, and that has been the cause of failure of many of the EMR solutions which have not worked well. Now you have either drop-down menus, you have very good speech-to-text solutions, and it is, some of them are so good that as you are speaking to the patient, the solution types itself. And all that the doctor has to spend is probably a few seconds. It's like a preview and okay. Okay, so that's the extent to which some of these data collecting tools are evolving. On the other hand, yes, you need to recruit people and build capacity to use technology. And although the speech-to-text and all that is, developing, it is also available in, I think, 4 or 5 Indian languages as well. But it still takes time, okay? Not everybody may be able to use this. It may still be beyond the reach of many people in terms of cost, because it has to reach a scale before it becomes, affordable. So people also have started courses in teaching managers, and not just, using data, and using, keying in data. What we are talking about, shifting your mindset, understanding that this is not something that is going to take away your job or making it difficult. It is actually going to make your job easier. I think just to understand that, you need to have the middle-level managers understand that in the hospital. The mid-level doctors understand that, okay? Because they are the ones who are key people. The nurses, they need to understand, because they are the ones who key in data. And for those people, there are courses that have started in the country. I'm not saying there are enough. The IHMR has started, and yesterday Rajendra Gupta was here, right? So he started an MBA course for doctors and senior managers. And so there are efforts at, developing these skills. I'm not saying they're enough at the moment. A lot more skill development needs to be done. Perhaps even for the lowest level of people who are doing basic data collection, even for that it's required. I fully understand that unless we reach that critical mass of people who've understood how to do it, we will not succeed. Surely, yes.
Thank you so very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much for gracing this stage with your impeccable words here. So I would like to call Mr. Afzal Kamal sir and Manish Rastogi sir to please come up on this stage and give her appreciation of token. Please come up here. Come on, everyone. Please put your hands together for Dr. Uma Nambiar.